Hi guys, this is the very last section of Chapter 9, Lesson 1. This was a pretty long section and we broke it up so you were supposed to work on this for a couple of days. Take your time and pace yourself. Don't worry about if you don't get everything done perfectly. Just do the best that you can. We understand that this is a difficult time for everyone. So this last section is talking about the periodic table. It's arranged, just so you know, in rows called periods, which means that they're going across the periodic table. Rows going across are called periods. So periods go across the table. There are also things called groups that go down the periodic table, and there are actually numbers usually above each group. There are 18 groups on the periodic table. The elements in the groups usually have more in common than the elements in the period. The period has a repeating pattern, hence the name period, periodic. So you go from metals to metalloids to nonmetals, and it repeats that pattern as you go across. Groups go down the periodic table, and like I said, they have more things in common with each other typically. If you look over here, this is just kind of more for fun a little bit. You're unscrambling these elements to make words. I'm really not that concerned if you do that section or not. If you're bored, it's something kind of fun to do, but it's not a necessary portion of this assignment for you to do. Down here at the bottom, though, this part I would like you to do. So what you're going to need is coloring pencils or colored pencils, or you could just use a regular pencil and create a pattern. But you need to color in which ones are metals, metalloids, and nonmetals. The way you can figure that out is by going back to the previous page in your textbook, and you can look at what properties those have. And if you look here, it would be for period 3 going across is where you're going to look at that information to help you. The very last section then of assignment that you have to do here is you have to think about the other properties of these metals. So you have nickel, palladium, and platinum. And you can notice that they're all three shiny silver metals. So you have to think about darmstadtium, which is the next element. If they all in the same group have similar properties, what do you think darmstadtium might look like as well? At the very bottom here, you're just saying what the rows are called and the columns are called, which you just need to look back in the reading or listen to this little clip again. What do elements in the same group in the periodic table have in common? So they have similar properties or reactivities with other elements. And use the periodic table to name 2 elements that you would expect to have properties much like those of calcium. So you're going to go back and look on that previous page with the periodic table. You're going to find calcium. You're going to find the element calcium, which is right here. And you need to give me an element that has a similar property. So you need to think about whether it was groups that have similar properties or periods that have more similar properties, and give me an element from either that group or period, whichever one it would be based on your reading and what I've gone over with you. The last thing you had there was just, I know the periodic table is useful. So the periodic table is useful because it's what scientists use to communicate with each other. If you study chemistry, it's how you react or interact with each other. To communicate or do anything in the chemistry community is that you have to be familiar with those symbols. One last thing I wanted to point out before I get off of here for this section, and this is the last section. You may notice here some elements have a single letter and some have more than one letter. The single letter ones and the double letter element symbols, both of them start with a capital letter, but the second letter in a symbol is always lowercase. So for example, chlorine here, it's Cl, not Ci, which is something people get confused. So I'll see you guys next time when I talk about the next section, Chapter 9, Lesson 2.